Chris. All good, thanks.
Good to see you. Darren, are you relieved the transfer window is closed now?
I'm gutted it's closed. I wish it was still open, Chris. Um, I'm absolutely delighted it's closed, and it just settles things down, and we can crack on now and just get on with playing the games and just concentrating on the games and moving forward.
I take it from that you're not a big fan. You think it's a bit of a circus, do you?
No, I just think I understand it because obviously it's a transfer window. I just suppose you've heard a lot of managers say that it can be a distraction, obviously, with everything that goes on with it, really, because obviously you're building your team, you're settling your team down, but also there's still opportunities to strengthen your team. People are still holding on to players and so on and so forth. And in our case, late in the window, we was trying to sort of protect ourselves from, potential other clubs wanting to take our players. So it can be a huge distraction. So obviously, with the window closed down, the rules are the rules. It's closed now, and we get on with the footballing side of things.
Were there any inquiries for any of your players yesterday?
Yes, there was. Yeah, there was. Yeah, but as I said, we managed to sort of redirect away the clubs away from our players and managed to hold on to them, and we just carry on, which I understand because the ones that the inquiries were for are doing well at the moment, so I can understand it.
How would you rate your summer overall in terms of the business you've done?
It's fine, and I think it's been hard work, sort of by everybody connected here. It's well documented that we started our work very, very early in the summer, and hopefully, when we came to the latter parts of the window, most of our heavy duty so-called work was done. Because we got back quite early and started our work very, very early in the summer. So I have to feel overall sort of pleased that the work we done was earlier this year than what it was done last year.
You go into this game against Barnsley tomorrow on the back of some good results and clean sheets as well. How would you rate your last few games and how you're going into this one and how you're shaping up?
Yeah, no, I think, Chris, that there's in both games, there's been a steady progression in terms of the consistency in performance, and we're starting to see one or two starting to settle down and find a rhythm. But also we know as in terms of the team and the group of the team that we still got areas of the pitch and areas of our game, both like sort of in possession of the ball and off the ball, that we continue to work. And certainly with the weeks coming up now and the months coming up, we get some time to really work and solidify those areas that we want to be better at and need to be better at. So in terms of that, I'm pleased with seeing what we've seen over the last couple of games, but we know that there's so much work to do, Chris, and we're going to be continuing to work on those areas.
What do you make of Barnsley's start? It's been a little bit hit and miss, hasn't it? A bit inconsistent over the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, I think when I look back at the games that I've seen them play thus far, there's been moments in them where I can see there's a lovely cohesion with them, and there's been moments in the games where they've probably been a little bit patchy, but that's the norm. New manager, new structure, new players, new team. So they too are settling down. But certainly, I certainly see the work Michael's done with them upon arriving, and how he's stamping his authority on the team and the group and the club. I know I know him as a person. He's hard-working. He's very diligent. He's a thoroughbred. So with those characteristics to him, it's a matter of time to see that the club in a good, stable place and provide solidity.
They'll bring a few, no doubt, tomorrow, just down the road. What do you expect the atmosphere to be like, and do you think that'll have an impact tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an electric atmosphere, which it is. It's a local derby. Both clubs are a few miles apart, so it's not far. So in terms of the location for both sets of fans, it's ideal. So I expect them to bring whatever ticket allocation they've been given because of the local proximity of the game. And these games, I believe, over the seasons have always been tasty games, and you know the atmosphere has been electric, and I expect no different tomorrow. We know down at the S6 and that in terms of Hillsborough, when we're at home, we know what noise we can create down there, and I'm always like that with our fans to go again and create that noise. I've been there now and experienced it when it's been a full house, and you go a long way in football to seeing any stadium when it's full, and the electricity it brings really in terms of our fans. So for me, for our fans, it's more the same again tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing them all tomorrow.
You've got your own connections with Barnsley as well. Do you have a soft spot for that club as well?
Yeah, in my career, I played there. I had a couple of wonderful seasons there. Really good seasons. I left there, went there to Derby, and at the time when I signed there, my job was really just to, you know, at the time Barnsley was to help to stay in the Championship, but we had some wonderful moments there and had a great time there and beat some memorable teams at the time, you know, in the division. I remember there was clubs like Newcastle and Leicester that was in the Championship and winning games like that. So it was a special time there, and yeah, I enjoyed my time there, and certainly where the club's at, and that I'm sure under Michael's reign now that they'll bring some continuity and some solidity back there. But that's my memories at the time at Barnsley. Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Darren. All the best tomorrow.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you.
Darren, I'm going to have to ask you a lot of the same questions about deadline day again. What was deadline day like? Was there much activity?
Only for us, obviously, Rob. We like I said to you, we had a few inquiries for our players, but we was able to sort of keep them in house, which is what we wanted to do. And then of course, young Alex Hunt moved on to Grimsby, and we sincerely wish him all the best in terms of going to Grimsby and for his career going forward. And that was our sort of activity, and we were sort of in the air till probably 10 o'clock last night. So just making sure that everything was going to plan.
You were upfront about wanting to get to the end of the window without losing anyone. Was there much interest in your players on Wednesday and Thursday?
Yes, there was, Rob. Yeah, there was. Yeah, with a couple of days where there was interest in our players, and as I said, I understand it because of what they're doing and what they're currently doing at the moment. So I do get it, and I do understand it, and why the inquiries would be. But as I said, we'd done our work really early in the window. We knew the squad that I wanted to try and shape up this season. So last thing I wanted to just do after working so hard in the summer is then start losing people. So as I said, I was really pleased to keep everybody together, and it just means we can get down to and get some work done now.
How does it work then? Does the chairman say, Darren, what do you think? Do you say, I don't want to sell this player, and ultimately he backs you? Does he have a big say in this? Does he have final say? You know, what is that process like when you've got teams coming in for your players in the last couple of days for transfer window?
Yeah, and that is because we do communicate to that level. Yes, and those questions are asked, what do you think? And we give an opinion and a verdict. But ultimately as well, at the end of the day, if a substantial offer comes in for a player, which we all know every player's got a certain price level in their head, if that's triggered, then ultimately that will come down to the chairman. But if it's anything in between that, then certainly we both get together in the recruitment team, and we discuss that at length really in terms of the offer that's coming, the type of offer that come in, the club, everything else with the offer, and even possible if it does, what targets we've got, and would we be able to get those targets in time. So all those things to that length is taken into consideration when these offers do come in.
How would you assess the transfer window overall, you know, from the end of last season to now, and the team that you've got now at Sheffield Wednesday?
I think that for the team that I've got now, I feel happier with it because there's a bit more balance to it. There's a bit more sort of players that, in terms of the team shape and dimension, I feel we've got the right players in that can give us that solidity, that balance, that know-how. So I feel that. But as you know, with myself, Rob, that sort of spoke early last season, that after last season, within a matter of days, we got back to work. So a large bulk of our work was done very early in the season, some of the main bulk, and to get the players that we did at that stage and be in the hunt for them and try and get them that were out of contract and put our foot forward, it was pleasing to get those players in. So it meant for me, certainly at the latter part of the window, most of our bulk work was done. And then during the window when it was going on, when the season started, we kept chipping away at other targets and got them in one by one. So it meant by the time we got to the latter parts of it, I would say probably 90% of the work was really done, really, and it was just waiting for one or two others to come available, and we managed to get them as well, really. So I was really pleased with it. Now that the window's closed, and what we need to do is get the ethos and the dynamics right, and as you know, all that's only implemented on the training ground with the games to come.
It looks like you've got a really strong squad now, which is good, but I suppose the other side of it is there's almost no excuses, is the Darren now? You've got to get Wednesday up.
Last season, Rob, when I arrived, there was no excuses. This season, there's no excuses. And whenever I play football, there's no excuses. There's none whatsoever. When I was a player, as a pro, there was no excuses. When I was fighting for a professional contract, there was no excuses. When I get to the team, there's no excuses. When you're trying to hold your position every single week, there's no excuses. So to use that terminology, there is no excuses, because as every manager knows in the game, we know what we're in the game for, is to win games. And so realistically, I'm just giving you the terminology, how from a professional point of view and stance, how we see it. And I came here to Sheffield Wednesday with no excuses for the opportunity to come and manage this wonderful club. So now that we're in here, obviously I've just been getting my head down, working. My job is to improve the football club, all sides of the football club, inside and outside the football club. And I know the enormity of that, what that takes. But it whets my appetite, and what I like to do is get down to work. So looking at the squad, I'm pleased that you're looking at the squad and seeing the faces and the names in there. But also at the same time, with those names and faces in there, we've got to get out the right group cohesion and the right balance going forward. And we know the hurdles that's ahead of us in the league, but we take them on one by one.
Now the window's closed, is this the time to ramp up contract talks with players whose deals run out next summer?
Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing that we can turn our attentions to and probably more focus our energies in, and we'll see how those talks go, Rob. So yeah, that is a possibility for us to look at those, and what it does, it helps with the window closing, that you can start moving your energies in other areas of the football club, that because the window is open, it's very, very hard. You find yourself drip feeding yourself right across all strands, really. So now with the window closed, there's other areas you can really target and focus on.
Injury news, how are you looking for the weekend?
Yeah, injuries going forward. Obviously for the weekend for us, Noah Dedderin and obviously Ben's just getting back on the grass. Ben Hennigan's back on the grass, which is great news. So he'll start getting put through his paces over the next days coming up. And then and we're still assessing Dennis. We'll know more with Dennis hopefully over the next few days in terms of where he's at. We've had to let him settle down. Now that he's settled down, we'll know more where he's at over the next few days.
And what do you expect from your old club? And do you know Michael Duff?
Yeah, obviously over the years we've known each other, and as I said, I was pleased with the work in terms of what he'd done at Cheltenham, in leading them to promotion, and last season seeing him, and now he's at Barnsley, where he's got more in terms of the team, the equipment that he's got, the size and structure of the club, and where he can use that to his best of his ability and his skill sets. And as I said before, he's very diligent, he's a thoroughbred, he's a worker. I expect his team to be well organised, very, very energetic. So those kind of things are in tandem with him, really. But as I said before, I look at his team and I see elements of where he's working with them and what he's utilising and how he's applying himself with them. And from a professional point of view, he's doing a good job. And I expect a real difficult game at Yorkshire Derby tomorrow. So usually in these occasions, Rob, that the form guide goes right out the window,
Thanks, Darren. Cheers.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
You're right, Darren. How's things?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Joe. Hiya.
Good stuff. Just first up, I suppose, with keeping hold of the players that you kept hold of, was this almost a perfect window for you?
Yeah, I'd say so, because of the demands on our players. And as I said, we had a high level demands of, potentially in our squad. I can say there's probably 3 or 4 that was targeted, which I get and I understand. So having the ability to not only bring them in and get the squad, but to keep them in was equally as important. So I'm really pleased with that. And as I said, now we get some work done, Joe.
I think I probably know the answer to this, but I don't suppose there's any chance of you saying which players were targeted by any chance, is there?
You're right, Joe. You're not going to know, but I'll just give you the number, Joe, and that was the number really that we had good inquiries for, and as I said, we turned them down.
Just to sort of probe a little bit on that, was it very much a case of they called and you said no? Was there any sort of discussion there, or were you very strict on these are players we're not leaving, you can hang up the phone now, cheers, see you later?
Yeah, the inquiries can come through myself, head of recruitment, secretary, and chairman. Really, those are the avenues that they came through. So and all of them really. But as I said, they were all politely declined, and we move on.
How does the deadline day work for you? Do you get yourself on the sofa with a cup of tea and just wait for the phone calls to come in, or are you sort of active trying to get things done with normal work as well?
Yeah, you never take it that you can go and sit on the armchair with a cup of tea and watch it all unfold, because of the dynamics of that. Even though we've done our work, you still got to be very, very careful, because if somebody triggers a certain amount of monies for a player that's refusable, then you've got to look to be working. So you've got to be really on the front foot. So even though we've got a squad and group of players, you got other potential players that what you can look to recruit in or look to try and loan, but you got to remember as well, Joe, that other clubs will be in for those, and those targets that you've seen, they can go as well, really. So you have to be, your mind's got to be very, very open to the unexpected, which is football at any given time, and that's what we was. So for me and the team, we were still working, possibly up until just on 10 o'clock last night, just in case. But also you've seen some of the work that we did in terms of Alex Hunt going on to Grimsby as well, which myself, the recruitment team, Lindsay, the secretary, the chairman, all our lines have got to be constantly open. And in terms of where the chairman's on, the time difference that is, so all lines still have to be open in terms of working, and that was the case last night.
Just a word on Alex Hunt. Was it? I mean, I know that he was quite far down the pecking order, really, really strong midfield this season. But he's been at the club for 15 years. Was it with a little bit of a heavy heart that the decision was taken for him to move on? Obviously, it was the best decision for his career, but was it still quite sad to see a player who's been around, walk out the door? Yeah,
it was. It was, and we spoke. When I left here last time, I was driving home. We had a chat, me and Alex, and I sincerely wished him well. he'll always be welcome back here with open arms because of the time that he's been at the club. But he's been a wonderful servant. But in terms of the age, in terms of where he's at and getting that frontline football, I think is really, really important. And we're pleased to see him go to a good club in Grimsby under a wonderful manager in Paul Hurst. And the both of them have gotten back together. The relationship's back together, and they too can go and work and get that club going. So I'm really pleased for Alex. He's a tremendous player, wonderful technician, a great human being. And as I said, I'll be closely watching and seeing his development from our point of view. But we all wish him really, really well over at Grimsby.
Brilliant. Just lastly for me, Darren, you've spoken before about having an open door policy at the club. You know, players have spoken about it as well. The fact that you are, you know, always there to have a chat. Is that something you've always done as a manager, or is that something that you've sort of taken on board the longer you've been in the job?
Always had it from the first minute I stepped into the managerial role. I have an open door policy 24/7, really, Joe, because I think it's really important. Because we're all human beings, and yes, we've got the job titles that we have, manager, player, manager, but we're still in the same environment, and we still got to be on the same page, and we all want the same thing. So by only doing that, the communication levels have got to be really open. Not only that, the reason why I've got the communications open like that, because when I say what I say, there's no middlemen in between, that the individual knows. Sometimes it can go for him, sometimes it can go against him, but I'm a real firm believer that when the individual puts his head on the pillar at night, however he felt, he went, and they always know it's an honest response from myself, really. And I think that, I'm going back to when I was a player, I think that's really, really important. So right from day one, in all the jobs that I've had thus far, it's been an open door policy, and it will continue to be that, really. I think it's really important.
Brilliant. Thanks as always for your time.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
Darren, how's tricks?
All right, Alex. All good.
Good stuff. You look like a new man with the stress of the transfer window behind you. You look refreshed. Interesting that what you said about receiving inquiries. You did sort of say that, you know, if anything exceptional was to come across your desk, you might consider it. Since, say, use the signing of Alex as the marker, was there anything late on that gave you any food for thought at all?
Only if we'd probably potentially, if we'd lost one, really, there was one or two that came, possibly just one, but it was only a 50-50, but still was a good player. But as I said, with what we'd already had in the building, we felt no, we're happy with what we've got, really.
Fair enough. I'm going to ask this. In terms of the free agent market, let's keep the party going. Is there anything there? I mean, you have spoken about goalkeepers, as we said the other night. You know, that might be a position where there might be one or two, I imagine.
We're only looking at that as a possibility. We're very, very happy with Stockers and Dorse, but we know there's two in that position. So we're looking at that as a possibility, but it's a real outside, and we have to keep our eye on it just in case, Alex. And we are keeping our eye on it just in case. So that's the only real area that we feel that we have to really pay significant attention to. But as I said, it's an outside one that we're looking at as a possibility. Yeah,
makes sense. What's the situation with Ryan and David Agbontohomer as well in terms of their future? Is he still looking to move them on at loan?
Yeah, well, David picked up a little knock the other night in the cup match, so we're assessing him. And Ryan as well. We know that we can still do business, obviously, with the non-league. The window's still open, and we see him, you know, as a potential that can operate and play at that level. We just want to give him some first team experience, but also at the same time he's still in training with the main group. So in terms of his learning and his development, he's still very much in with the main body in terms of the first team and training each and every single day. So we feel he's training at a level up against good players, but also if we can find that opportunity for a loan for him, then we think it'll be benefit for him to go and get sort of 20, 30 games really and really kick on again.
What is David's injury, and have you got a sort of timescale on that?
Well, he picked up a little. It was a thigh. It might be a strain. We don't know how to what severity it is. So we're settling it down at the moment. So I'm unsure with that one. The length at the moment. I think the doctor just wanted to give it a few more days before we can really assess it in terms of the length and time off. Really, but up until then, he was doing okay, David. And as I said, we'll have a look because he's certainly somebody with the capabilities of experiencing a loan in terms of his development going forward.
In terms of the three loanees that you've got, Reece, Alex and Mark, is it the same, and I know this is more or less part of the course, is it the same situation as last season in that there are break clauses at January, or are they locked in for the season?
There possibly is a break clause with a couple of them, and I'd have to double check it again to be absolutely clear. But all of them are season long loans, and with all three of them, I think all three of them are wonderful acquisitions really in terms of what they can give us. Reece, Mark and Alex, in terms of the two boys, Reece and Mark and Alex, in terms of the offensive play that he can bring us. I think they're three wonderful acquisitions for us, and we're really pleased to have them on board. And like I said, all three of them are chomping at the bit in terms of playing games, and they've certainly added to our squad.
Brilliant. And then just lastly, going back to your time at Barnsley, a little while ago I spoke to one of your old teammates, Stephen Foster, and did a piece on something that he remembered about a fracas or a bit of a row with Roy Keane that you had. In his words, Roy Keane melted when the two of you went nose to nose. What do you remember about that?
That's kind words of Stephen.
He was very complimentary in other areas as well. But
I think it was probably just heat of the moment kind of things, as you do, and we just want to win. We want to win games, and I remember at the time we did win the game, so it was a special moment for me. But also at the same time, it was just, I take it as the passion of the game, that we know that we can see a little bit of red mist, but it didn't go to no more than that really, and that was it really. But the pleasing thing was we won the game and we got the 3 points. So yeah.
Happy memories of Barnsley in general?
Yeah, it's incredible, Alex, because when I think back now, when I played up at Barnsley, I actually lived here in Middlewood, so I used to travel across from here back then as a player. So for me, sort of passing down right past the training ground, Middlewood, and straight past the A6, I used to go then straight up the A61. So my living residence was here in Sheffield, so that's why coming sort of back in here and sort of managing the football club, I'm quite familiar with the area, and it's quite, when you look back at it now, yeah, I remember the time there now, but I'm here, living here in Sheffield, and just really getting my head down and working with the team and trying to sort of keep the ship steering in the right direction.
Fantastic, great stuff. Right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers, Darren.
Cheers, Al. Thank you.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
All right, Dom. Yeah, good, thanks.
Going back to the window, how grateful are you to the chairman for all the support that he's shown in the, bringing in the 11 signings that you made?
Dom, I've said it from day one. I'm very thankful for the chairman, and he knows it. And our chairman doesn't really want me to say much because he just wants to be in the background and carry on. But the support that he's given me and continues to give me, and the football club in all areas, has been tremendous. He's very much hands-on. He's very much involved with all the decisions and everything else what's going on in the football club. And in order to do what we've done over the time, has to be backed and supported by our chairman. So I'm really grateful for that. As I said, we're constantly in communication each and every single day, and that's no different. That even later on today, we'll be in contact really in terms of where we're at today and the window and everything else. And then next week we'll jump on board, myself, him, and David, and just have a discussion in terms of what we've done and going forward and everything else. So that we're always trying to be sort of 1 foot in front in terms of the communication and what we're doing in terms of going forward. And it's the way I feel it should be done in terms of that constant communication on a day-to-day basis.
Have you already got one eye on January and when the window reopens again? I know you said that you're relieved it's closed now, but...
No, January can be at the end of the season for me, Dom. I'm just happy to sort of know that, the window's closed, and other areas where we can sort of focus on, those areas now, because I suppose everybody knows where we are now, and things can settle down and let the football commence.
You said earlier there are no excuses. Do you feel under any pressure to repay the faith that the chairman has shown in you with the backing that you've had this summer in the transfer market?
In terms of repaying, for me, Dom, I don't get clouded by it all. I just think, I know what we're in the business for is to win games, and and that's what you're in here for, and in terms of that. So irrespective of how things gone, I've always had that mentality in terms of that. You just want to win games and build a team that you feel's playing a certain way. It's not the right way, but it's just a certain way that you believe in. Because as you know, there's many different dynamics to teams out there. So that's what it is. But also at the same time is we had to build a team because of the players that sort of contracts were up or we let go. So you've got to build a team. You've got to try and bring new faces in, but you're trying to readdress the balance. If I went back to when I first joined the football club, one of the biggest things I mentioned, the balance of the team was just all wrong when I first come here in terms of my notes. So I knew in terms of the structure of the squad, in terms of what we wanted to do, you wanted to build the right team and get the right balance. You only can address that, Dom, through the windows when they're opening. In terms of addressing that, in the summer we had our eye on certain individuals, and what we've done is we've moved that again because the windows allowed us to do it. But in terms of where we've been at as a team, I felt we've had to try and strengthen and bring more balance to the team, try and reduce the age of the squad, all those kind of things you're constantly working with in trying to put a team together that you feel is going to be eventually over the years to come will be one that solidifies and a group that can continuously keep working together and growing and building together, and that's where we'll constantly try and aim for until we get that right.
Michael Smith played 45 minutes the other night. How's he doing?
Really pleased for him. Fine. No reactions. Trained the last couple of days. So happy that in terms of where he's been out of the week and coming back in, he's been really fine. So we're really pleased to have him back.
I wanted to ask you, Darren, about what have you made of the impact that David Stockdale's had on the team since coming to the club?
It's been superb, Stocky, in terms of what he's bringing us. Talk about him as a character, wonderful, approachable man, really centre of attraction in the dressing room, very friendly with all the team in a group or as individuals, but a real top level pro in terms of where he's been in his career. And I just thought in terms of what he's doing here, to bring somebody of his experience and ilk has been wonderful for us to bring him here. Vast experience in the game, as you know, but I think it's given him a platform here that even though in terms of where his age may be, and you deem that in football as being an older pro and experience, he's still very much a young man in the outer world. But in terms of somebody that comes in, is enjoying his football, smile on his face, wants to get better, which is music to my ears when you see an experienced pro still wanting to get better, and your job is to make him better. But in terms of what he's bringing us as a team, he's been really good, and we're really pleased to have him here. And we're no surprise in terms of what he's doing, because as a pro, he's an excellent player, but as a human being, we're really pleased to have him in the club, and he's certainly added to the atmosphere here.
And what's the latest on Piers Charles and his and the contract talks with him?
Yeah, I think those are areas now where, as I said, before, when the window's open and you're sort of sprinkling yourself right across certain departments, it's probably areas of that where you can probably get more hands-on and more sort of get in between the fabrics with it. So at the moment, the contract talks are where they are, and I'm sure the only way they're going to get resolved is by that communication, which is what we plan to do.
You've spoken before about Piers and how highly you rate him, and so how important is it to get that one sorted?
Yeah, important. He's just as an important member as all our squad members are, Dom, and so it really is important. He's a young man, he's a top talent, and he's developing really nicely. He's showing wonderful improvement, and it's what we want, really. So yeah, that's an area that we'll look to try and address.
Have you opened any talks with other players? You've mentioned Piers and Pierce. Are there any others right now that you're looking to get tied down?
No, none at the moment. None at the moment. So no, we're just as I said, with the window closing now, we're just focused more so on the playing side.
Thanks a lot, Darren. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, Dom. Cheers. Thank you.